everybody. How are we doing? Excellent. So thank you so much for joining us today on this day where the weather can't actually make up its mind. Thank you. 35, 36, I've actually lost count. As Has said last week at our summer party, everyone have fun, and then we've got a cohort graduating from Leeds next week as well. So exciting time to be a Northcoders graduate. 2 brilliantly exciting projects ahead of you today. So as per usual, I'm going to shut up and hand you over to Misplaced Manchester.
Hi everyone, I'm Fiona, and if you're anything like me, which I know some people in this room are, now and again you've woken up after a night out and you realise you don't have all the worldly possessions that you left the house with the day before. And this is where our app, Misplaced Manchester, comes in. As my colleagues are going to show you, the app allows you to browse items that other users have lost or found in the area, upload a photo of an item and the details of it, and it has an inbuilt chat function, which is really hard to say, to connect the finders and the losers. So before we get into it, just a tiny word about our process. Once we had the idea nailed down, here you can see we had a brainstorm about what the final name was going to be with the expletives hidden there. And we created this beautiful Kanban board, and we had a good old practice on GitHub to make sure we had a really good handle on version control. And then, as pretty much all of the tech that we chose to use was brand new to us, we spent some time researching how to use it and spiking out where we were going to go. And now Yannick is going to narrate for you. You really are in for a treat. This is an incredible piece of cinema history that's going to demonstrate our app being used out in the wild.
So I'm Yannick, and I'm going to talk you through both most of the simplistic sort of technical aspects of what we've our tech stack and all that, along with some real-life user stories how we intended our app to be used in the real world. So, our app's a PWA, basically just progressive web app, means that you can add it to your home screen once you've gone to the URL, and it will act essentially as just a native app. Easy, just tap on it on your home screen, open it up, all the functionalities are fantastic, as you can see demonstrated there. So onto the user stories. Here's James at the pub with his pint, having a good time. Takes his watch off to be comfortable, as you do, but the Melanie's forgotten it. What a bother. Thankfully, though, for him, just a moment you'll see, Marek here, what a gentleman, finds this watch. And good thing for him, or for James moreover, he's a user of our app. So as you can see him scrolling through the items here, he doesn't see that James has posted the lost item. By the way, all of this hosted on Postgres database. We're using a Python backend. Here you can see him uploading a picture that he's about to take. That'll be hosted on a Google Cloud platform. And then just adding a couple of details, such as a short title, which is just the item in question, a short description, more specifically where he found it, i.e. the Pilcrow pub. Then a filterable drop-down menu for a location which is a bit more general, such as the Northern Quarter, which you'll see. And then just a category, which he's put as jewelry. So we're going to switch to James, who's going to log into his app now, using a Firebase authentication system. He's going to see that, scrolling through the items posted. Oh, that's his watch. So he's going to press a button. I think that's mine, which will take him to a private chat between him and Marek. Again, all these messages are stored using Firebase. You can see these two just swapping messages now. Very sort of simple. It's a chat. I'm sure you'll know how it works. Just kind of verifying that, this is his watch. He's asking him, are there any defining features of this? He's just kind of giving him my name's engraved on it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I see that. They are going to sort out a place to meet, time, and as you'll see in a second, being reunited. Here they are, James, looking very forlorn, might I say. And here he comes, Marek, save the day. James gets his watch back, and all is right in the world. I'll now pass you on to Colin, who will talk to you about our back end.
Cheers. Yeah, I really wish I had a video. So, as Yannick mentioned there, our backend is built in Python with Flask and a Postgres database that works alongside Firebase for the authentication, the in-app messaging, and Google Cloud Platform for the photos. So I think when we chose to use Python, it was pretty unanimous. We were straightforward to learn, plenty of resources out there to get going with it, and loads of frameworks we can use alongside it. Decided to use Flask, again, more or less the exact same reasons. For a 2-week project, it was perfect. And then in terms of using Firebase and the products that are available with it, it's, well, first off, it's free. It's serverless, it's all real time, and most of the back-end functionality tends to come straight out of the box, which is quite convenient. In terms of how it all works under the hood, so when a person logs into the application or tries to, it'll go to our Firebase authentication database and search for those credentials. If they're not there, it'll prompt you to sign in, and you can sign up with a new email address, password, and give yourself a display name, which is then accessible through the whole application, so that whenever you actually try to message another user, it will create another private chat room in the Firebase in-app messaging, and only you and that other user have access to it. So there's no dodgy business going on there. Most interestingly, we had to sort of work out how we were going to integrate the Google Cloud Platform with the Postgres database for the items. So basically, when you, as you just seen, when you're filling out the form, it asks you to upload the photo first. And then once that is successfully uploaded, what you'll get back is a URL, which we were able to store as a variable, pass into the form, so that when we're actually rendering all of the items from the Postgres database later on, it'll fetch that image, the relevant image from the Google Cloud Platform, and bring it back so that everything's correct and all matched up. That's about it on the back end, and James is going to chat you through the front end.
Course, admittedly, but we wanted to try and learn something new, so we looked into hooks, which is something that's not taught on the course. So we have kind of learnt quite a bit doing it. It also allows us to build one app, and you have it acting as though it's native on a phone when you download it. The great thing about PWAs, though, is that you have this service worker. Don't know if people have heard of service workers, you may have done, but effectively, when you first load the app, it caches all of the pages on the app, and then on subsequent uses of the app, it will access them, and so you get much faster page loads, you get near native app behavior, and that all leads to a much better user experience. So you do get rendering, and obviously when we're offline, we've got a page here that shows you're offline when you're in aeroplane mode. So that all comes together to appear as though it really is a native app. And I'm just going to pass you over to Marek, and he's going to explain some of the issues we've had.
Right. Yeah, so we had some issues, but I will list a few. Python and Flask. Because this tech stack is like a brand new to us, then going through the docs was sometimes hard. We ran into some issue that one of the packages which is the database, it would only work on Macs. So our solution to that was 3 people with Macs. They work backend Python, while the rest of the team focused on the front end till the backend was done. Firebase authentication. At first, it looks easy to get such a small amount of code in our app, but that was really challenging, and we come out together as a team, and we managed to solve this. Again, we are all brand new to Firebase, so reading docs wasn't easy for us, but we made it. Communication in our team was great, but of course it could be a bit better. For example, one of our team, one of us spent a full day working on the ChatKit API, so we could have a chat functionality in our app. But next day we discovered that this API doesn't work well with the hooks. So on the daily stand-up, we changed the tech stack for the chat. And yeah, that was the problems. And I'm gonna pass mic to Fiona.
So just to quickly wrap up, as you all know, we have quite tight time constraints when we're creating these apps. So there were a couple of things that we would have liked to implement that we didn't quite have time for. We were all aware from the start that it could be open to abuse from some unsavory characters who might want to post some dodgy items in there or even claim things that weren't theirs. So we are trusting our users that they're going to, as you saw in the video, like confirm any like an inscription or whatever it is to make sure it really does belong to the person. And we popped in a report button so that we can crowdsource that policing because we knew we wouldn't be able to do it ourselves. But that isn't quite fully functioning where we'd like it to be. So that would be the thing that we would work on if we had a little bit more time. And if any of us did want to work on this anymore, we think it could have the potential to expand to all kinds of other locations, get businesses involved. So yeah, if anyone fancies doing that, come and see us and we'll sort that out. And that is everything we've got to say. So thank you for listening. And if anyone has any questions, we're happy to take them.
So not only do you have future career as developers, but you also have a future career as silent filmmakers. Well done, congratulations. Right, who's going to go first for a question? I'd like to see lots of hands, please. Here we go. Hello, hi.
Anna. Hi, so if I lost my phone, I wouldn't be able to post it via an app. So can I use this on laptop, and is it responsive?
It is very responsive. I think James might want to speak to that a little bit more, or not.
It's responsive, yeah, you can use it on desktop. So you can run the audit tests with Lighthouse on Chrome and passing every single one. So we get all of the requirements that you need for a PWA. I won't bore everyone by going into what those requirements are, but yeah, it does pass them all. Yeah.
Excellent. Good question, good answer. Who's next? Don't all put your hands up at once. We seem to have a bit of silence online as well. Come on, don't be shy. Yes, hello. How are we doing?
To any one of you guys, what do you think was the team's last?
Right. No, I think genuinely it was like the first couple of days. I think we all came in pretty hot and positive, and then once you get the first couple of problems, I think it sort of maybe just takes one or two people into that. Oh no, what is happening? This isn't working. So came back in. We had a stand up on the Wednesday morning. Voiced the issues that we're running into. And then we were like, okay, well, how are we going to, obviously that's getting somebody down, that's going to bring down the group. How are we going to solve that problem? We went, okay, let's do a bit of paired programming. If that doesn't work in this morning, then we'll do a bit of mob programming this afternoon. And yeah, just coming up with solutions every time there was something bad happened.
How did you approach learning a brand new programming language like Python? Because obviously it's different to what you learn here, right?
I think actually different members of the team had different approaches. There were some of the guys, I know Yannick and Marek, big fans of the tutorial. I think Marek watched a 13-hour Python tutorial.
In one go.
That isn't my preferred way of learning things. I got stuck in, did a bunch of Python katas on Code Wars, like some dead easy ones to just get comfortable with the syntax. So yeah, different approaches.
Cool. Right. If there are no more questions, then I'd like to say congratulations on making such a lovely application. Well done. Well done. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. So the next project, kind of unique. It's the first time that we have attempted this, and hopefully it will be a success. So today is this team have done a project suggested by a hiring partner. So the hiring partner is called Padme. We've got Gary here, and I believe you suggested the idea and the tech stack. Is that correct? Yep, absolutely. So for the first time, we have a team who have end users, and there was a check-in point halfway through, and they had to fulfill a bunch of user stories. So I'll let them tell you all about it. They've got a brilliant team name. So it takes two to doodle.
Thanks, Emil. Hi, guys. We are Toucan Doodle. We are Robin, Anthea, Paul, Sam, John, and myself, Sunit. And just like Emil said, we're trialing something new for Northcoders, which is hiring partners provided us with a brief, and we were tasked to meet it. So before I do the intro, I'd just like to say, on behalf of the whole team, it's been a real struggle to get to this point today. And we're incredibly proud of what we've put together, and we're so happy that you're all here to kind of see us and showcase it to everyone. So thank you very much for sticking it out in this really hot room. So yes, Northcoders wanted to try something new. We were given the option of running our own project or taking something from a company and seeing if we could build something that met the requirements. And as a group, we thought that would be a good challenge because it resembles something closer to what we'd be doing in life after Northcoders. So our challenge was to create something, a collaborative drawing application. We were given the tech stack, a choice of either iOS and designing in the Swift programming language, or Android Studio and designing in Kotlin. We chose Android Studio and Kotlin just from a practical point of view. The majority of the group had devices that could develop for Android, so we chose that as the challenge. Academy gave us some user stories, and this is like a summary of what they gave us. So our app had to be able to show a gallery of drawings. It's a user login-based app, so we needed to be able to log in an existing user or register a new user through the app. If you're a new user, once you register, you see an onboarding tutorial. And then when you're drawing, the app should be able to update multiple people's devices as they're contributing to the same drawing in real time. And then we should be able to share the drawing via that operating system's native built-in sharing feature. So that was our challenge, and I'm going to hand over to Robin to kind of walk you through the application.
Thanks, Sunit. Hi, so what I'm going to do is just take you through a little user journey. We don't have time to really show you all of the features because we managed to pack in way more than we thought we'd get about this time on Tuesday. So if you want to roll the video. Okay, so it's already rolling behind me. You can log in or you can register a new user. We're going to register a new user and then show you a drawing that's going to happen on all three screens simultaneously. So we take a name, an email, and a password. And when you register, you get a tutorial, which will just show some of the features. First of all, it shows you how to create a doodle. Then it will show you where the features are in the top right of the screen, all the different options that you can put onto that. And then it will show you the gallery view, which unfortunately we haven't got time to show you on this video. I did a couple of doodles, not a great artist, but at least you can see them from the back once we put the pen a little bit thicker. So we're going to open a new doodle, and then we're going to join that doodle with the other two phones. You can see the names of the users are in the top left there as they join up. So we're going to start on the left, and unfortunately I was not quick enough to draw any pictures live, so we just went for a very simple themed word. We're changing the brush color here, now that we've set it to a thick brush. And whichever phone you draw on, whichever color you use, whichever brush you use, it will appear instantly on the other devices. So I remember it being a lot faster than this when we actually recorded it. And then, yeah, we didn't manage to get all of the colors implemented, but we got a few, so we can show you a few different colors there. Now, up at the top, you see we got a save icon, we got a link to the gallery, and we also have the native share feature that we were tasked with implementing, which any minute now I will click. And there we go, which will check your phone for any apps that will accept an image, and then we can share from there. And that is the end of the user journey. I'm going to pass you over now to Anthea, who's going to tell you a little bit about the front end.
Thanks, Robin.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about our team's experience with developing on the front end. So we took on the task of taking what we'd learnt in React on the course and applying that to the challenge of creating a UI for Android. It was a steep learning curve. None of the team had worked on Android Studio before, had worked in the programming language Kotlin, or looked at Firebase in much detail. So it was a steep learning curve, but we kind of took on the task of doing lots of tutorials through Pluralsight, through YouTube, and using the Android developer docs to kind of make sure we were getting a thorough understanding of what we were writing. We also did a lot of paired programming throughout the entire 2 weeks, just to kind of make sure everyone was getting that similar experience. One of the first things we did was build a wireframe in Adobe XD, just of the user journey that we all kind of wanted the user to follow through on. And once we'd agreed that on the team, the layout, the flow of the app, we started building it in Android Studio, which I found personally really busy at first. In fact, I think the whole team kind of found it very busy at first and kind of heavyweight. But the tutorials that we did really helped with that. They really helped bridge our experience from assembling a UI in React to the one in Android Studio with Kotlin. And once we kind of got to grips with that, it actually sped up the process of designing kind of the components and the activities of the front end. Especially because Android Studio has this really cool little drag and drop feature. So you design your kind of component or your activity on a kind of blueprint, which you can see here, and it actually writes the XML for you, which is lovely. And that did give us a bit more time to focus on kind of the mechanisms and the functionality of accessing the data in Firebase.
So yeah, just as Anthea mentioned, working with Android Studio, Kotlin, and Firebase was a really seamless experience. After we'd spent some time trying to skill up and familiarize ourselves with the interface and with the programming language, we actually, as a team, came to appreciate the features that were built into Android Studio. So just an example, when you're building the application in Android Studio, it has a really good emulation feature. So as you're putting together your application, you can export it to a virtualized emulator on screen and run your app with your mouse, or you can export it to an Android device and actually get hands-on. So during the development process, as we're building different iterations as a group, we can actually all jump on a handset and see how our code works live, which was really cool. When you're developing in Android Studio, you get the option of choosing Java or Kotlin, and we were given the requirement of using Kotlin. What we found was that it was difficult at first to pick up a new programming language, especially when you have the time constraint of having to build something really quickly. But Kotlin, as compared to Java, has a shorter syntax. So it was actually easier to learn, quicker to write, so it was quicker to develop with as well. So we found that really cool. And also the combination of Android Studio and Kotlin, it has some features built in for when you're writing code, it's able to recognize things that are going wrong whilst you're writing it. So a really good example is when you're using a method in Kotlin and you have to reference a variable, but that variable is the wrong data type. Like if it's supposed to be a string and it's an integer, it pops up as a red squiggly whilst you're writing the code, so you can check what, and it pops up with like a pop-up menu to tell you what's wrong. So you don't have to wait until you try to export the app or try to run a test or anything to find out whether it's gone wrong or not. You can fix it there and then, which leads to cleaner code straight off the bat, which is great. And then because we were working with Firebase for our data, because Firebase is a Google product, plugging it in to Android Studio was seamless. The integration is really good. And exporting and working with the data and designing our methods to interact with our data was really seamless. So we found like it started off quite tough, and then towards the end of the project, we were really loving using Android because of all of these features. And to tell you a little bit more about Firebase and the back end, I'll pass you over to Paul.
Thanks, Sunit. Yeah, as Sunit just said, Firebase integrates in. We're giving Firebase a brief, but during the research, we did look at Amazon and see whether it had any other offerings, but our real need here was the real-time database. So that drove us down to Firebase and its offerings. We also use the Firebase authentication, so covering identity and access management. Unless you're an authorized user, you don't get in. And also the cloud storage aspects, again, from the Google Cloud platform to store the images. The little GIF here at the bottom shows as somebody puts data up, it gets synchronized. So we've got another screen of actually it in action on the next screen. So here we see, if you notice the line gets drawn, the database is changing in real time to actually update what's being seen. Some of the features of Firebase that came in useful, or not for us, but obviously has normal uses, are the fact its security aspects. It uses HTTPS, so data in transit's encrypted, and also the cloud file store, sorry, the cloud storage is data's encrypted at rest. As I did, it offers two database options. We start off on the file store, which is a newer option, but halfway through, when we were really struggling to get the real-time aspect working, we switched to the real-time database, and there's a lot more information about that. And now I'm going to pass you over to Sam, who's going to talk about some challenges that we faced as part of the project.
Thank you. That is me, actually. So yeah, challenges, we had a few. Tech stack, as everyone's sort of led on. Kotlin, Firebase, brand new. What are we doing here? It's not JavaScript. Someone help us, please. And that led to assumptions of what the programming language does. And we got them horrifically wrong in the first week. We went front end, back end, let's silo the teams. And that just didn't work. You can't do that with the application that we were making. You needed to work together from the off and speak about every single thing along the way. And we came together on the Wednesday, so it was 2-3 days maybe, realization, and we refocused and we prioritized again, and we went at it, and we made the app that we made today. And we're better for it. For making that mistake in siloing, it's probably made us the app better than it would have been otherwise. Hardware was, we wouldn't be a cohort that didn't have hardware issues. We have 3 Macs, 2 laptops, and an abacus, essentially. One of the laptops was useless for a week, and it would not do anything. It would not run an emulator. We found out today while watching the other live stream, it doesn't really do any speakers either. But that also led to devices. Some had Android, some had iPhone, so not everyone could run an emulator on their device. Not everyone had an Android in order to install the app to test it. But we got around that working as a team, and I would say to anybody, don't silo too early. Don't make assumptions about the tech stack you're going to use. It's not JavaScript. Nothing is like JavaScript. Go out there and learn it first before you jump in and code. I'll pass you over to John.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, so in terms of what went well, we made use of agile practices, which meant daily stand-ups. We had a strict routine. Every morning, 9 o'clock, everybody had to be in and discuss what they did the day before and then what we're working on today. We also made use of the Kanban board as well. That kept everyone updated in terms of tickets and what each person was using and what they were doing. We're doing a lot of pair programming. We found it easier to work as a team together rather than working as an individual for certain tickets. And this helped move the process quicker. We also had some instances where we had mob programming, where there was like 4 of us working on one problem that 2 of us couldn't solve, and that was really helpful as well. In terms of Git, every project has Git issues, right? We didn't. So in terms of Git, it went really well. We spent one whole afternoon just merging and creating branches, just make sure everything worked fine before we started the project, started coding. So that saved a lot of time for us. In terms of what we were doing differently, as you see, as mentioned earlier, we've offered iOS, Swift, or Kotlin. While we was doing the research, after we've learned Kotlin, we realized that there was a lot more information on Swift for the canvas, which was one of our main issues. So, but we kept with it, and then we've got this product, which is really good. We would have liked to add in more features to our app, because at the moment it's just basic paint and draw, collaborative, but like shapes, animations, maybe a pinch to zoom option, the ability to add other users, like invites, and maybe draw on an existing image, just to give it another wow factor. Well, this brings an end to our presentation. If anyone wants to have a test and view an app, you're more than welcome to. Thank you all for listening, and any questions?
Brilliant. Well done. Amazing work. So I guess I'm going to look at you, Gary, if you got the first question.
What path did you go down to try and solve the bitmap or path use? How are you actually storing the drawings themselves and sharing them in real time?
Yeah, so the images are stored on the within the cloud storage with a URL on the database to link to it, and then as it's retrieved, the database calls back it and populates it in the gallery.
So, did you go down the route? Sorry. I get used to this. Did you explore using bitmaps and rendering out there?
Sorry, Guy, I misunderstood the question. Yeah, originally we had it working as it works now, and as we said before, we were struggling to get it working. We had one user working, one user could write, and then we started looking at converting bitmaps into blobs and into base 64 strings of text, putting those into the database. We managed to get images into the database that way, but it was too slow for the real-time aspect. The rendering into a base 64 uploading to the database didn't give us the speed we needed, so we went back to just holding the coordinates as it moved, and then once we'd switched to the real-time database, we managed to get the multi-screen rendering done.
I'm sure Gary will be chatting to the guys afterwards. Question from Tutor Tom. What challenges did you face as a team and how did you overcome them?
All right, I'll answer.
Not Git, apparently.
So in terms of challenges, I think we worked pretty well as a team. There may have been 1 or 2 instances where we might have miscommunicated, but we got together. So in the morning, we got together, made sure everyone was happy with what we were doing, and then we just allocated tasks and just got on with it. But there were some communication problems, but we managed to resolve them just by talking to each other, and that was it. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly what John just said. But also, we employed the agile methodology to begin with, so stand-ups. But there are like some rules associated with agile, and one of them is to respect everybody's ideas and respect everybody's opportunity to speak when you're in a group environment. So we employed that pretty early on, and that really helped the flow of communication. It really helped us to kind of gather around a shared vision, to use a really cheesy phrase. Yeah. So we stuck to the agile methodologies as well.
Cool, great. Any more questions from the room? Down here, hi.
We're all going to end up doing project phases soon, so what advice do you have for us? It goes to any of you.
Ooh. I think we should all add something here. You go first.
I'd say just really try and have fun with it. I think you can take on a lot of pressure about the project, but at the end of the day, it's not necessarily the full shiny product at the end. It's how you get there and kind of what you learn along the way. So just try and have good fun and stay positive even when you're in a little code hole.
Again, assumptions. That was our downfall in the first week. Front end, back end. Yes, that worked for JavaScript. So if you went React Native, perhaps that is the same where you have very prescribed front and back ends. But doing what we did, it wasn't the same. So that set us back a couple of days. So go out there, spend the first week learning everything you possibly can about it before you delve into code. Otherwise, you'll just come unstuck.
And again, John mentioned it, pair program. If you can't fix it in a pair, mob program. 4 heads is better than 1.
I'll also say don't panic, because on the first week when we started the project, on the Friday, we'd done a lot of code already. But by Monday, we had to refactor a lot of stuff, and some of us was getting worried, but just don't panic. Just get on with it, just do it, and then you'll be fine.
I'd like to add as well, comment your code. There's going to be a lot of people working in different partnerships in different pairs, jumping from different parts of the database or to the front end or to whatever. And rather than just having to go through it all again and explain to a new person when they're trying to catch up what it is that you've done, if you've actually left comments in the code, it makes it a lot quicker. And we really wish that we'd done that right from the start.
Sean.
Hi guys, well done. Probably a question more perhaps for Sunit and Anthony on the front end, but how did you find going from from learning mostly JavaScript on the course and then obviously building your application mostly in a strongly typed language like Kotlin? So A, which do you prefer? And B, how is the difference for you?
I actually really enjoyed learning Kotlin. As Sunit mentioned, at first it was intense, and it looks completely different to, well, kind of object-oriented, so when you do the little Pokemon sprint we do, it looks similar to that, but yeah, it looks completely different. So it's scary kind of going into it, but the docs, the Android developer docs, were really good, so they really helped. And pair programming, so when we'd both be doing tutorials, both be learning, but when you're in that kind of intense time frame, you miss things, they miss things, so coming together and kind of really sharing what you know is really helpful. As for which one I prefer, I don't think I could choose. They're like children.
Definitely Kotlin. Not a chance. Was the question which one we'd prefer? And okay. Going from one to the other was a real shock. There's this thing in Kotlin, and I think it's in Java as well, called override functions. And then there's this thing in Android Studio where you can right-click on a function and implement methods, and there's this whole list of methods. And every tutorial we watched insisted that we expand this one method that we'd written with loads of other methods underneath it, and we had no idea what was going on. But they were telling us to do this and do that, and suddenly it worked, and we couldn't follow it. But then we started thinking back to, okay, what have we done that's similar on the course? And it was Pokemon, and it was object-oriented, a little exercise in object-oriented with JavaScript. That helped us to understand class relationships. And then we kind of, when we became more familiar with Android Studio, we understood how activities, well, I don't know which came first, Android Studio or React, but the structure of components within React and the structure of activities within Android Studio was quite similar. It was quite analogous. So that really helped us find our footing. And then Pluralsight was a big winner for Anthea and I, yeah. And paired programming, oh my God, yeah. Which is why I prefer definitely JavaScript.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Cheers.
Right, any more questions in the room? A quick scan. Hi.
So given everything that you've learned, if you were to start a job next week, what is the one most important thing you'd take into that new job?
Good question.
I think the one thing we've learned is the fact that 15 days ago, or really 10 days ago when we started programming, nobody here knew Kotlin. We are now probably fluent in it. I think it's a really powerful language, and there's lots more to learn from it, but the grounding you're getting during your fundamentals back-end and front-end stand you in good stead to pick up a new language. That's the benefit, so we can go out and sell, well, we delivered this in Kotlin in 10 days. It's not perfect, but that's from nothing to that in 10 days.
Yeah, I had a laptop that really didn't work very well, and as a result, I was a bit behind, and I needed a lot of help from pair programming from everybody else. And so the first thing that I would bring to a job would be a big box of Krispy Kremes, because I think that really improved the team morale. And it was a really great way of bringing us all together when things got really stressful. Just chilling out, relaxing, and just bonding a little bit, as well as getting stuck into the work.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I just want to, I guess, ask Gary, are you happy with what they produced?
Just tell us we're hired.
Excellent. Look, well done, everybody. Let me get it right this time. Took and Doodle. Well done. So thank you, everyone, for bearing with us in this slightly overheated room. Can I ask the project teams to hang behind for the photo? Hiring partners will go into the project suite for some more drinks and a chance to meet everyone. Thank you so much for coming. If people out there and other hiring partners are interested in becoming a curriculum partner, let us know. Have a great evening.